First of all, I do apologize to any headphone users or wireless earbud users. If you hear the sounds of or something like that, that's basically my phone doing notifications for email or messages from Facebook Messenger and all that. Or even Instagram. So I do apologize for that in advance. But I wanted to come on here because this morning, DezzieArts, that's DezzieArts, DezzieArts, DezzieArts. Real name is Michelle. She posted the last installment for this year's Melting Mei, that's M-E-I, that's the main character's name, Melting Mei series, which again, as I've mentioned before, is an annual series that she does every year, every May, in tune with the Melting May theme, if you will. That a lot of fan artists, fanfic writers, regular fiction writers will basically create stories and art and even webcomics centered around. Anyway, she gave us a sneak peek. Now, it wasn't like last year's sneak peek or even the year prior, but it did kind of give us an idea of what is going on. So basically, in this sneak peek, we find out that Mei, Zahara, and Elizabeth can still mentally communicate. The only difference is they share one body now, and that's the fusion of their daughter, quote unquote, Levi. That's Livia, Levi. And the reason they're still able to communicate is because, well, part of Levi, that being Elizabeth, still has some jobs to do, some spy jobs, if you will, espionage, if you will, undercover work. So Mei and Zahara pretty much are going to go along for the ride. And, because of that, they have to come up with different scenarios of how to accomplish the jobs. And the one thing that gets talked about, or described in the sneak peek is that Levi, as pretty much, or started with last year last week, not last year, it's early, I do apologize. It's about 8:35 in the morning Pacific while I'm recording this. But like I said, as pretty much established last week when I did my review of the series, for this year, basically Levi has her own individual consciousness, but she also shares that individual consciousness with Zahara, Mei, and Elizabeth, who are dubbed as her mothers, as Mother Elizabeth, Mother Mei, and Mother Zahara. So anyway, she shares it. And, she shares that consciousness mentally with them because her consciousness, Levi's, is a combination of all theirs, while they still have their separate individual personalities. Anyway, what happens in this sneak peek, like I said, it's pretty much established that Elizabeth still has her undercover work, her spy work, her espionage work, if you will, that she gets hired for. So Mei and Zahara, because they're all fused into this one body, I guess permanently now, which they can actually, as I think I mentioned last week when I talked about this, they can switch back and forth. In other words, Levi can, shapeshift and become Mei, or she can become Zahara, or she can become Elizabeth to avoid any suspicion. Anyway, what happens with this, with this sneak peek for next year is Elizabeth, like I said, she has a job to do. So her and Mei and Zahara as Levi come up with the idea to infiltrate this one place to download some information onto a USB flash drive. And again, as I was alluding to, Levi can, sense her mother's thoughts and everything when they discuss, how they're going to do stuff. And basically, it's a situation where Mei will come up with an idea, Elizabeth will be not too fond of it, Zahara will kind of be like being a moderator, and they'll come to a peaceful agreement. if you will, like, okay, I may not like it that way, but I get where you're saying we should do it. And then the other side saying, yeah, I understand why you say we shouldn't do it, but here's why we could do it. And maybe use some of your suggestions as well, kind of stuff. Kind of stuff like that. Anyway, they infiltrate this one business, this scientific lab or something like that, or scientific building. In the guise, if you will, in the disguise, whatever you want to call it, or however you want to look at it, in the disguise of a flower vase, as a vase full of flowers, if you will. But what we find out, as they're communicating with each other, mentally, what we find out, basically, is, because you would think, okay, they're disguised as a vase with flowers, right? So you think, okay, they're either disguised as both the vase and the flowers, and, that's it, right? Nope. They're not disguised as either of those. Because basically they allude to the fact that when Mei, a couple weeks ago, in the previous chapter, I think it was Chapter 17, Mei got captured by the Lindsay Palmer, whatever her name is, of that beauty industry, industry. I'm trying to think, empire, that beauty business, corporation, if you will, establishment. She got captured by her, right? Because she failed to keep herself, deep undercover, like kind of keep herself, undetectable. So it came up to basically last week, Elizabeth going in there in disguise of her own, or at the end of chapter 17 and into chapter 18, it took Elizabeth going in there to get Mei out of there, because like I said, in 17 and towards the end of 16, like I said several weeks ago, at the end of 16 going into 17, I should correct myself there, she got captured because she didn't, disguise herself, make herself, undetectable, that being Mei, and Lindsay caught her. So it took Elizabeth to go in there in chapter 17 to rescue her, and then escape with her at the beginning of chapter 8, and escape with her at the end of chapter 17 to the beginning of chapter 18. Anyway, getting back on track here, they allude to that situation that occurred, in the previous chapters over the past several weeks. That was a lesson to be learned, and to basically take into consideration and build from when it comes to future espionage jobs that they may have to do on Elizabeth's behalf. So again, you would think, all right, they're either the vase or the flowers, if not both the vase and the flowers, right? The disguise is actually the water. That's right. The disguise is actually the water, because the powers have gotten to the point that they could change the consistency of the fluidness, when they melt down and become goo. Instead of being like the slimy, thick goo and all that, you would think of, they can change the consistency to be that of pure water. And as we have noticed throughout the years, for those that follow this story on DeviantArt by DezzieArts, as we have noticed, basically Mei has mastered it so much that she now knows how to change the consistency of a fluid form, and she's passed that on to Elizabeth, Zahara, and by extension the fusion daughter, Levi. And it's even alluded to that as Levi is even able to give him some ideas of, what to become and everything, as well, either for certain jobs, to go around town, or to have a little kinky fun, with each other. Anyway, what happens here is Elizabeth, she's kind of getting a little bored. Like, she gets why they're doing it this way. It helps her get her job done and all that. But she's getting a little bored and all that. But they do remind her that, hey, we're doing this because it's easier. It helps you get your job done, and it's what we agreed upon. And the way they did this, apparently, is they were able to study and study and figure out when certain florists would show up at a certain, shop, I guess close to where they live or something. And what they did, according to the story one day, is basically sneak in there in disguise of one of the florists, and then take the shape, I guess, of the water in the flower vase or whatever it was going to be that was going to get delivered. And apparently there were several other attempts in the past for this place to be infiltrated. I don't know if it was by them or by others, but now here we go with another opportunity. And this infiltration, like I said, is being done by the Levi fusion of Elizabeth, Miai, and Sahara. Anyway, like I said, they studied, when the florists would show up and all that, and pretty much used the florist shop to get, the flowers that they became the water for delivered to this place. So getting back on track, because I know this might sound confusing to a lot of folks. Getting back on track, basically they're waiting there for a while. They're waiting until everything is clear. They're waiting throughout the day and all that. And Elizabeth, she's getting a little bored. But Miai and Zahara, they remind her, well, you know what? We don't have to be totally bored. We can have a little fun, even undetected, especially because, we're, as evolved as we are now, to where even as formless, even as, water, we can have a little, intimate fun, intimate activity going on. And Elizabeth's like, yeah, maybe it's not going to be too bad, because basically as the water, Zahara and Miai start, pleasuring Elizabeth, unbeknownst to the security guards and all that, the secretaries, that are around. Mostly the secretary that they've been laid at the desk, the receptionist, actually, that they've been laid at the desk of. Anyway, they wait until the coast is clear, and that is basically until everybody goes home and leaves, closes up shop, that they decide to put their plan into action. So they basically, as the water flow out of the vase very carefully and reform into the fusion known as Levi. And what they do is they basically, through Elizabeth's knowledge, if you will, they're able to hack into the system and use a USB flash drive that they also took with them in this, as part of the disguise, to start downloading the files and everything they were asked to, get a hold of. Now, they don't finish it completely just yet, because they hear somebody coming, so they have to basically go back to the disguise of the water. They have to go back to the vase. So they do that, and after the security guard leaves and everything, they're able to come back out of the vase, as far as they know, and reform back into Levi and finish the job. And then afterwards, after they get the job done, download the rest of the files, erase, any evidence that something happened, as well as the files that they downloaded, they take the disguise of a trash, of a can in a trash can. Because they hear the custodian, the janitor showing up and basically being like, just in time. And that's pretty much how the story ends and all that. And that's all we get for a sneak peek. We don't get any, we do get a little bit of risque kind of teeny weeny intimate fun between them, but not too much. But again, this is what we get for the 2025 sneak peek. And I have to say it was good. I have to say it was good, because what this is giving me an idea of is we can kind of see where it might be heading. Now, I'm still of the belief, as I said before, I'm still of the belief that Lindsay Farmer or Foster or whatever that lady's name was is still going to play a major part. I think she is. Because obviously the story that we're not reading in between is the reason she wanted Zahara's Ultimate Bliss, business is because of the secret that was being utilized within within that business that was making it success. So obviously I got a feeling we're going to see more of Lindsay down the line. I really do. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting riding all that. And like I said, I think there might be a conflict as well. There might be a conflict to where Levi might fall in love with somebody, either it's a he or she, and she might want to have her own life. Like, she may not want to be, bogged down with the fact that she's got to shapeshift into Zahara, or she's got to shapeshift into Mei or into Elizabeth because of certain reasons. She's going to want to have her own life. And I think that's where it's going to lead to them actually, growing with their power to the point that they could separate from her. In other words, the fusion will be able to, still be around, but also now finally be face to face with the mothers that helped create her. So I think that's what we're going to be heading for down the line. And yes, I do believe even with that happening, we'll get a full-way, intimate NFSW gooey lesbian encounter between them. That's what I think is going to happen. But also, I think it's going to happen maybe a little after she discovers, true love, and just as a way to thank her for, giving them the opportunity to, live as one, be one, if you will, and everything, and also thank her for helping them discover new abilities they didn't know they had, including the separation part. I think they're going to mutually have a little moment, if you know what I mean. Now, I also think we might get the families involved too. And what I mean by that is you can't tell me that this kind of a story is not going to have family involvement, especially wondering, okay, where did Mei go? Where did Zahara go? Where did Elizabeth go? Why don't they return our calls? Or why don't they, ever, show up as much as they used to? Like, what's going on? And I think that's going to play a major part too. And the Lindsay lady, like I said earlier, might have some involvement in there as well, playing it off like, hey, I'm just letting you guys know what's really going on. Or at least I think I know what's going on. Here's the proof, da-da-da. And she might even play off the fact that, hey, what is the biggest fear in any sci-fi story that involves this kind of stuff? What is the biggest fear family and close friends have when it comes, to their daughters or the sisters or the best friends having these kind of powers to be able to shapeshift into whoever they want to be or whatever they want to be, or even, fuse into whoever they want to be. What is the biggest fear? That they might lose themselves. They might lose themselves for good, their identities, to whoever they shapeshift into or fuse into. So I could see Elizabeth, I could say, playing a major part where she makes it sound like she's going to help the family locate them after letting them know, hey, this is why, you don't see them as much because we think this individual is your daughter and her two cohorts, if you would. So I could see that happening. And I do apologize for any space or pausing there. I was thinking it's early, and I was thinking about what I was going to say next. If you heard any, so I do apologize. But yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. Honestly, just my opinion. I could be wrong. And again, I think that's what may also play into the separation power coming into play, to where not only will Levi still be able to live on and have her own life, along with her own abilities, but now you give Zahara, Mei, and Elizabeth the opportunity to go back to their individual lives as well as be with their families who were always concerned about them, and then maybe even let the families in on the fact that, yeah, this is why we were not around and everything, and maybe even let them in on the truth of who this Lindsay lady really is. But yeah, so far from what I've read over the past several years, because I've been reading this since the very beginning. I have to say that DezzieArts, Michelle, she's doing a heck of a job. And, maybe it'll get to a point that, after next year, maybe it'll get to a point to where she'll basically say, hey, I'm going to want to do this on a regular basis, like not a yearly basis, but like maybe a bi-monthly basis, like she does with some of her stories. It might get to that point. But we'll have to see. But yeah, those things that I mentioned, I believe are truly going to happen going into next year, because again, it's a gradual process that, DezzieArts has taken with these kind of stories. So obviously the next the next step is to go in the directions I think, she might be going in, like involving the family, fusion separation to where the fusion stays around, but the individuals that made her are now back to being themselves, or the powers and all that. I can see all that happening. I can see the Lindsay lady coming back into play, in a major way in some of the things I've mentioned. So I'm definitely looking forward to next year. I really am. Now, here's the thing. DezzieArts, honestly, she could decide if she wants to just make next year's all about NFSW GUI fun, if you will, between all three, if not all four ladies. She could just do that for all the chapters, and that's it. And hey, I don't think anybody would complain, but she's more about storytelling. She is, she is basically, I'm trying to find the right word to say. She is, she is someone that does allow. That's what I'm trying to find the right word to say. Because like I said, it's early. It's not even 9 yet. 9 in the morning, that is. It's 8:53 in the morning right now. But, DezzieArts is the kind of person that will basically, once, when it's necessary, mostly towards the end or in the middle, allow characters like Mei, Sahara, Elizabeth, and Levi to have a little kinky, gooey, melty fun, if you know what I mean. But anyway, though, I do highly recommend checking out this series. Go to DeviantArt, type in the title that's in the title here, Melting Mei. Check it out, and I think you will thoroughly enjoy the series as it is. And if you want to read it from the beginning, go ahead. You'll start seeing the gradual growth and involvement and evolution of the story through and through. But really, guys, that's about it. And DezzieArts, thank you for doing this story so far. You're doing a great job. And until next time, guys, I will talk to you all later. But yeah, I would recommend checking it out at DeviantArt. I think you'll enjoy it.